Hey, I thought I'd do something different today because it's gonna explode. Or should I say erupt? Because I'm gonna talk about Dante's Peak and Volcano. Two titans of the 90s. Two disaster movies. Competing head to head and blowing their top off. One scientifically accurate, the other just for effects. And boy, did that one fail. Dante's Peak was a decent success, but not a major box office buster that they expected. A blockbuster is what I meant to say. I'm trying to pun, but I've burnt out. So, they both came out in 1997, which was quite a big year, especially for Pierce Brosnan, because he was in Tomorrow Never Dies, which has something else, which will capsize to something a little bit later. But, we also had The Lost World Jurassic Park, which again had something that we'll get to a bit later. And I could go into a Terminator reference because Linda Hamilton is in Dante's Peak and Judgment Day was set to happen in 1997. But we're staying with Dante's and Volcano, which has a few references to something else because Tommy Lee Jones is in Volcano, and I'll get to that in a minute. So, right, Dante's Peak. Set in a fictional little town where Harry, played by Pierce, is, moving on from a terrible tragedy that happened 5 years prior. He was out with his girlfriend at the time, crazy volcano action, and he lost his girlfriend because falling rock came in and hit her in the head. And yeah, it's a very dramatic scene, and there's a number of them in Dante's. Some comic relief, but it's mainly, it's a bit dark. Like, the film is can get a bit edgy. So Marion, she passes, and we see Harry 5 years later. He's still keeping fit, and he gets pretty much noted to check on this volcano on Dante's Peak, which is celebrating anniversary and whatnot. You got two lovers in a hot spring, and they get boiled to death because the volcano is waking up. It's like, I'm going to explode. Which it eventually does, and it leads to chaos. And some really cool effects. And the film is a lot like Jaws. You got this massive monster that's slowly killing and getting to show its ugly face, even though sharks are cute. And there's the one political person that doesn't believe him. Of course, that's Harry's boss. I mean, the mayor does believe, but she doesn't want to because she's got kids and she's worried for them in the town. So, yeah, it all goes up and up and up, and then pow. And then there's sorries and forgiveness, and that's okay, you just get out of there. So it's riveting. It's a slow burn, but it flows. And yeah, you got great miniatures, you got really solid directing. The acting is quite good because, Linda Hamilton, she's an icon. Pierce Brosnan, he's cool. He's still got that charm. You know, he can get serious. He can be funny. So yeah, there's the scene at the bar where it's like, you know, everything's being waved off, and he's like, no, I'm just staying here to see what happens. Of course, they do the testing. You know, the volcano does its stuff, and then, pow! It gets you. It's like, whoa, this is fun. You know, you got the city crumbling, you got the kids going to get their grandma, and then that leads into the infamous acid lake scene. You know, the scientific stuff, or the measurements, or the calculating, or the sulfur getting into the water system, and Harry's like, I told you, and then it's like, oh shit. And then lava's coming, it burns down the house, and the car going over the lava, and the dog save the dog. Then the grandma gets in the lake. Of course, that happens after the dog, but before the dog. And yeah, the grandma's all burned up by the acid, and it's like, oh no! And so she passes away. It's sad. Graham, the boy, takes him to the mine, and of course you got the scene, the aftermath of the hot springs. Graham's about to jump in, get boiled, but no, Harry saves, and then there's a bit of love blooming between Harry and Rachel, played by Linda. And yeah, then the awesome dam scene, like the boss gets carried away in the dam, he tries to make it, they're like, jump, jump, and he's like scared. He's basically accepting his fate because he was a jerk. Didn't believe Harry. It's like, no, all's wrong. I'm going. So it's sort of a bit odd. Like, he could have survived, but yeah. So that's pretty much Dante's Peak, and the volcano blows its top, and then like there's some photos, video footage of the aftermath of Mount St. Helens, so they use that, and then there's models and all crazy awesome stuff which you can see on certain editions of the DVD. I know that was rushed, but I've got a lot to get through. Whew, it's getting hot in here. So, Volcano. Epic failure. Still does have some good effects, like the lava effects at the end when it's going down the main street of the city, and they block it with the concrete barriers. It's building up, and they're spraying it with the fire hoses. Like, that's pretty cool. The infamous train scene. Oh my goodness. So the firefighters go get the subway, the lava's coming through, and everything's melting in the train. And it's like, they try and be dramatic, but it comes off as funny now. So I think it's Stan or Steve. He's carrying the guy, he's praying. It's got the intense music, and then there's a little bit of lava. He's there, like, jump, jump. And he, like, throws the guy, and then there's more lava. They're like, jump, man, jump. And he jumps, and it's like, lands in the lava, and it's like, ah. And it cuts to the people that are like, no. And then it cuts back, and it's like, ah. And they're like, no. And then the last team is like, ah. And he could have done the Terminator reference because he's going in the lava, but it's like, no. So yeah, that sort of has a Terminator reference, T2 reference, and there's a scene early in the film. Some guys are down on the ground checking for something, and there's a explosion. One of the guys pops up. He turns his face, and one of his face is all melted. So he's like Two-Face, and that's referencing Tommy Lee Jones because he was Two-Face in Batman Forever. And yeah, so he's saying all this stuff, you know, he's being tough, he's being cool. He actually does alright. His daughter is trying to get word in about the volcano, and he's saying all the tech stuff. It's not as scientifically certified as Dante's. There's just a lot of exposition and babble and, effects. Whereas Dante's is like, alright, this does happen, this is happening. we're showing the effects gradually until the big finale. But this is like, oh, we gotta have effects, we gotta have explosion. It's basically Michael Bay taking on Spielberg. It's like bam, 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 bam. This is like, yeah. So what are we gonna do? Let's try and be calm, even though that our impending doom is happening. Similarly with Jaws, but then I was like, hey, we're gonna die. Let's have a boom. Let's have effects. Let's have that. Whereas this one's like, yeah, we're gonna have this really cool pow, but we're gonna build it up, and then we're gonna get ya. Whereas this one's like, bam, we got ya. Okay, so science, bam. Entertaining just to fill in time, entertains you, and worth the time. And whew, that's hot.
Yar, me hearties. So, it's about time I talk about Titanic taking on Death Ship and... Whoa. Well, that's a bit conspicuous. Yeah. So, and also Poseidon Adventure. You've got two luxurious cruise ships. They're on their maiden voyage, and disaster strikes, and the ships, they sink. Well, the Poseidon Adventure, it turns up, capsizes, and you know what happens with the Titanic. And in Death Ship, there's a luxury cruiser, and then this freighter comes out of nowhere and sinks that luxurious ship. And speaking of ships and sinking, Tomorrow Never Dies has a battleship, and that gets sunk and falls in the water. And the Lost World Jurassic Park has a boat, and that crashes. And Speed 2, it's set on a luxury cruiser, and that crashes. What was with 1997 and all these ships? Like, of course, the ship thing, Death Ship did it, and then there was A Night to Remember, raised the Titanic, and so many ship. And what a rush. I need a drink. But yeah, Poseidon Adventure, the ship and the Titanic, and they wasn't really any crossover. It's just a ship for a ship, and they sink. And Deep Rising, again, there's a big ship, and it gets sunk, and the ship, yar.
Well, that's what the captain said, and I'll scale you later.